If you've ever felt confused by your INFP partner, you're not alone. People message me all the time asking for advice on how to date an INFP and how to read their INFP partner when we do strange things. In this video, you'll learn about the unique dating habits of INFPs. We'll explore how these traits impact relationships and share practical tips for better communication. By the end, you'll have valuable insights that can strengthen your connection, your relationship with your INFP partner. And in this video, I'm going to be switching between talking from my perspective as an INFP to INFPs, as well as possibly to you as the partner. I know a lot of INFPs are going to be watching this and other partners of INFPs. So come on in, join in the party. INFPs often set ourselves up for disappointment in relationships. Almost 15 years ago now, I was living in Nagoya, Japan, and I met this girl, and I became almost obsessed with her because she just seemed like the perfect balance for me. She was smart, attractive, driven, and I started imagining us having a great future together. The problem was I was so focused on her potential that I overlooked some of the challenges that she was facing and that our relationship would face if it were to go into fruition. Instead of asking her out directly, I tried to get closer by sending casual messages, dropping hints about liking her. And I often thought that, she could be with anybody that she wanted, so why would she want to be with me? And I believe that if I just showed her that I was cool and calm and collected, despite being a complete emotional mess inside, then she'd start to like me more. But we never ended up dating. I never took decisive action, like simply asking her out. She was waiting for that, and I was waiting for the perfect time, I suppose. And eventually, I moved to a new city, and we drifted apart. I learned that it's important to balance dreams with reality. You can't let idealized visions stop you from acting on or seeing what is really happening there. Also, in longer relationships, INFPs might see a partner's small talent or something that they said and latch onto it and imagine it turning into greatness. For example, we might see that, you have some artistic talent, and then we imagine you as a future Picasso, even though it's just a hobby or something that you just kind of dabbled in. We project this ideal future onto our partners, and we imagine them reaching their potential, which is a great thing. But it's also great to be connected to the real person as they're there. And as time goes on, we might actually get let down by these idealizations that we have for our partner if they don't make progress towards that ideal or that goal that we have for them because we think that that would be the right thing for them. The reality often doesn't match the fantasy. It can create tension too if our partner, you, feel pressured to meet our expectations. Though you likely don't know about those expectations, if you do, you might feel pressured to meet those. INFPs might unconsciously express dissatisfaction that can eat away at the relationship. Have you ever found yourself ignoring something that you didn't want to deal with in hopes that it just goes away? Of course, we all have, right? It's like driving an old car on a quiet country road. The car is struggling to climb up hills because its engine is sputtering and can't get enough power. You know there's a problem with the engine, but instead of fixing it, you push the gas pedal just lightly, light enough, hoping that it'll make its way up that hill. But instead of speeding up, the car sputters and slows down or maybe even backtracks. INFPs do that a lot. INFP passive-aggressive behavior is like that sputtering engine. You might forget tasks, you might procrastinate or avoid decisions, hoping that things smooth out. But without actually addressing the issue, actions can backfire, things get worse, and it slows progress and it causes stress for you and the relationship. By directly facing what bothers you and communicating it openly, it's like tuning that engine. You'll move through life's challenges more smoothly. And this shift doesn't only improve your relationships, but it also enhances personal growth and self-development and happiness in all domains. INFPs often avoid direct confrontation and conflict, especially those of us who are Enneagram 9s like myself. This can lead to a lot of unconscious passive-aggressive behaviors. We don't usually intend to ignore you. We might unconsciously and conveniently forget to do things. is really an act of forgetting. It's not intentional, usually. I can't speak 100% for everybody, but I don't ignore somebody like that seems too childish. But unconsciously, I might not hear them. I might not remember to do something. And it comes from this unconscious habit of repression of emotions, especially strong ones, which is really weird to think about if you know anything about the INFP personality cognitive functions. Another example is consistently overlooking household chores in silent protest. We don't want to do it, and then we kind of forget about it. We overlook it. We don't even notice it. We also might avoid making decisions or plans, hoping that other people will mind read our true preferences. Acting indifferent, then we let other people choose for us, but then we feel dissatisfied with the outcomes. Most of the time, though, we really don't care. Like, we don't have an opinion on the thing. We haven't attached it to one of our values, so it doesn't really matter. But when we do, and we finally express it, it often goes dismissed, or at least it feels that way. So we learn to repress our desire because we don't get it anyway. We know we won't get it, so why communicate it? This can often cause a lot of strain in relationships because by not communicating, we are creating disharmony. But we don't communicate because we want to maintain harmony. And so it's just this akujunkan, this cycle that is a vicious cycle, that's what it's called, that's creating more and more tension between people because we're not communicating it, and it can't be solved because it's not being expressed. Recognizing these tendencies can really help INFPs communicate better. And if you are the partner of an INFP, you might be able to like sleuth and find out why we don't feel like saying whatever it is or why we can't express it. And I appreciate you and honor you for that effort. It is very helpful. Next, let's talk about how clutter in an INFP's space reflects what's going on in our mind. So I'm in my home studio here, and I'm surrounded by like books and figures and hats and dice and tarot cards and swords, all of these things that are like really important to me. But I often struggle with organization, and it gets messy quickly. My wardrobe, like my clothing pile on top of my dresser, has clothes piled high, and sometimes I don't even notice the chaos around me. I can step over something again and again and not really realize that it's there. And it drives my ENFJ wife a bit crazy. She likes everything neat and tidy, and I get lost in idea space. And to tackle the mess, we've decided to invite friends over more often. This gives us a clear reason to clean up together. Sometimes I think, though, like, well, this is not how it normally is, so why should we change it for them? And I know it's a strange way of thinking, but it kind of feels like lying. Anyway, I've learned that I need help with cleaning and planning. I've gotten a lot better over the years, but for my own goals, for my vision of the future, for what I want to do to support my family, I know it's not enough yet. And around the house is a reflection of that. It's a microcosm of that. If my wife treats me like my 7-year-old daughter and just gives me a short list of things to do with clear directions, then I know I'm less likely to get distracted and overwhelmed. An INFP space is often cluttered unless it's tied to our identity that it's an important thing to keep clean. Like if we decide that this is important to me, then we will act differently around that. Also, if we decide like I am a clean person, then we will be a clean person. I am punctual, then we will prize punctuality. But if we haven't decided that about our identity, then likely it gets overlooked. And that's nothing against you or the house. It's just, there's a lot of weight on these different values. And so our rooms are likely cluttered with books, art supplies, projects, and that clutter reflects what's going on in our mind. We've got a lot going on in there. And it's really hard to keep up with sometimes. And it's also hard to keep up with the outer world and organization and keeping everything clean when we're trying to just figure some things out in our head. This can really overwhelm ourselves and also our partners. So do us a favor and think of that clutter as not just a mess, not a sign of laziness, but as proof of an active, creative mind at work. But I know too much chaos can make it really hard to relax or feel at peace, especially for you judgers. I understand that. So encouraging organization, supporting us with it, can help relieve stress on both sides. But likely, from my own personal experience, I won't even notice if something's been cleaned until like the thing that I wanted that I tagged to be at a specific location. Like I put it there. Maybe that's not the correct spot, but I put it there. If the room's been cleaned and it's not there, then that's when I realize like I wanted it and it's not there. And now I don't know where it is. Sounds very childish, doesn't it? I've literally had my bedroom completely reorganized, a whole bunch of stuff taken out. And my wife told me to go and take a picture of the room. And I did. And I was standing in that place that I couldn't stand before. And I didn't even notice it. Like I didn't realize that it was clean until like I looked at it for a while. I was like, something's different about, oh, it's not an intentional thing. It's just a lack of awareness of the physical world. And I think I'm on the extreme end of that. Last week or so, my wife and I were discussing what to have for dinner, and I often struggle with clearly expressing what I want. I usually say, "Nandemo iyo," like anything's fine, whether that's vacation plans or picking a restaurant, food, whatever it is. And I tend to just go with the flow. This time, though, I said specifically, I want chicken salad. I had this strange craving for chicken salad. And I mentioned it several times throughout the day. And I also said specifically, I want this, hoping that she would get it and that we would have that. I don't know why, but I really wanted it. I think I ate too much bad stuff and I just wanted something kind of healthier. And we didn't end up having chicken salad that night. And honestly, I felt a bit bummed, a bit disappointed. I know it's a small thing. But my wife did make it a couple days later, though, which was really nice. She did hear me, but I realized, though, that I need to express myself more clearly, even if it feels unnecessary. It's just chicken salad, right? But I really wanted it for some reason, so I need to make that, like, clear. Communication is like a muscle, and practicing it can really improve relationships. People aren't mind readers, and sometimes I'm not even sure what I'm thinking. And as an INFP, I'm sure you understand that too. And so it's important not to expect other people to just know what we want. We need to be very clear about it. But instead of clearly stating our needs, most INFPs hope that other people can intuit their desires. Then this indirect communication often stems from either truly not caring or a desire to allow the other person to have what they want because they probably want it more than we do if they're communicating it. This can cause a lot of frustration with partners who prefer directness, and it also means that feelings and desires, things that we want, go unshared. And if it continues, then it creates more misunderstandings, and it creates like this festering chaos, and eventually maybe even resentment. For INFPs, practicing assertiveness really helps our partner better understand our needs, and then we get more of what we want, and we're more in a position to help them too. But there's more to uncover about INFP relationships. If you want to learn the 5 elements of love success for INFPs so that you can build stronger, more meaningful relationships and connections, then click on this video over here, and I'll see you there.